What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also, I'm CEO and president of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And most important, I host Epic Conversations. And the Dr. Vibe Show is the home of Epic Conversations. So Tachi's going, that's different. So there you go. I gotta raise the bar because I got two doctors in the house. So I gotta really raise my bar tonight. So it's all good. And those who have been on the Dr. Vibe Show conversation a little bit, you know that Tachi's in the house, and that's always good. But she has a friend with us tonight. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let Tachi drive the ship a little bit tonight because she has a little bit of more information on this young lady than I do. I'll certainly fill in, but I like to give away things, and I like to have Tachi just do her thing, and make sure you catch her on Wednesday nights too, but we'll get that at the end of the convo. So Tachi, be the honorable woman you always are in introducing our new friend.
Thank you, Dr. Vibe. So this woman is fantastic and phenomenal. Dr. Tausha Robertson is a woman of all trades. And the funny thing is, we have a mutual friend and we are in the same organization. And I read about her because, you know, I do the tech reporting and everything. And I actually talked about her app on one episode of Media School, not knowing that we had any connection. And then when we spoke, I was actually speaking to our mutual friend, and she said, yes, there's a member who has an app, and she was at South by South. I said, what's the name of the app? And she told me, and I said, okay, this is too crazy. This means we are meant to talk to her this evening. So I don't want to take up too much time because I'd rather in your voice, Tausha, that you talk about your app and tell us the name and all of it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Vibe.
I always like to, before we get into the main thrust, we want to get some background on you, Tausha.
Sure.
You know, where you grew up, etc., and how your journey led into being a Black woman in tech, and then also a Black woman developing this app. Because I know when Tashi and I discussed this offline, we also wanted to make sure the stress of Black women in tech and women in tech also came across. So if we find out a little bit of background about yourself, we'd much appreciated.
Great. So first off, thank you both for having me on the show this evening. This is quite a pleasure, my first time doing this. So thank you. My background, I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, Meridian to be exact. And my parents moved out to Arizona when I was in high school. So I went to undergrad and grad at Arizona. And interestingly, my first career was in sports and performance nutrition. I know, go figure. Wow. So I kind of peaked early in that career and ended up working with UNC Chapel Hill, being their sports nutritionist for years. And that was like before I was like 30. So I said, okay, I kind of probably need to find another career at some point. So I did my doctoral work there and ended up finishing in health policy and administration and went to the business side of healthcare. And this is a true story. And this is about always being prepared when those blessings come your way. I was on vacation. I'm a scuba diver too. And I get on a dive boat and I know, interesting tidbit, right? I get on a dive boat and there is a woman and her husband and me, and we're going out to the dive site. So of course you're sitting across from these two people and you say, you know, we should at least chat. Hey, you know? And so ended up talking to her and her husband, and she says, oh, you graduated in health policy. My company is thinking about doing some things with healthcare. Maybe we can talk when we get back. Little did I know, she was the chief human resources officer for Carl Icahn, the private equity titan. So my first job out of grad school, out of my doctoral program, was working for Carl Icahn and helping to manage healthcare costs. So the point of that story is taking a chance. I had never heard anything about private equity. I'd never worked in it, and clearly, you know, having been in a health background, this just wasn't my thing. But I learned more in those few years, and she and I ended up leaving and started a business because we realized, hey, we do this really well together. Maybe we could start our own company, and did that, grew it, and we sold that probably about 4 years ago, which is what brought me to Austin. This matters to the story. So,
I know it does.
Yeah, so coming to Austin and just trying to get into the city. And our vibe here is very much about tech and very much about entrepreneurship. So I've already had that entrepreneur bug. So as I'm kind of, phasing through and getting acclimated to the city, I said, okay, well, I need to start to plan for, whatever my what's next is. And I always need to continue to grow and learn. Right. So I started to go to some meetups here and go to some of the workshops that they have about app development. Because again, I am a complete rookie in the app development space. So I am tickled to death every time I realize I have an app that's in the store and it got no award. So, so I started the process of just kind of thinking through an idea. And I said, let me solve something that's a problem for me and probably most of my friends. So let me not try to do something too sophisticated. Let me just try to solve a simple problem. And so I sketched it out and ended up talking to a good friend, again, Faith, and taking these chances. And Faith, rather, and taking these chances. And she said, you should talk to my husband. He works in technology. He could probably help you find somebody to build it. Turns out he's a software architect. And he's like, I love your idea. I think it's awesome. This will be a fun project for me. And oh yeah, I don't program iOS. I'll learn it this week. Who learns iOS in a week and then programs an award-winning app? Who does that? Right. So we, set out on our weekend and evening project and fine-tuned the app and got it into the App Store and did a big launch of it last year and got so much really positive attention, and people are really resonating with the fact. So the app is called Primpii. It's word of mouth beauty referrals made easy. Sounds kind of, bubblegum, but it's a real thing. As you move around the country and you go to different cities, the hardest thing to replace is the folks that you trust to do your hair, to do your brows, to do your makeup, to do those types of things. That's not something you want to do a bunch of trial and error with, okay? So, and that problem, when we did research, we actually did research with women in a specific demographic to look at, what were their major pain points and how do they solve them? And the resounding way that they found beauty pros was through their friends. And so I said, okay, well, how can we make that easier? How can we use technology to make that easier? So basically what Primpii does is it allows you to log in with your social network so that we know your social map in the background. And as you upload the favorite people that you use, your brow person, your makeup person, your hair person, you write a little bit about them. Like there's different people I go to for, my curly hair when I have it all froed out versus if I want it blown out and straight. It's two different people that I would go to. So I write a little bit about it. So basically it's a little black book, but everybody's putting their little black book entries in there about who they go to. So, and I promise you, I used it. I said, I gotta be the person to actually test this out. So I logged into my app, and our mutual friend had put in a person in Florida. I said, I'm just gonna blindly, I'm gonna make an appointment based on what she said in here, and I'm just gonna go test it out. I was blown away. It was a walk-in place that I could actually get like an incredible blowout on this. You can't see all this hair here, but it's a whole lot going on here. My hair was beautiful. It was healthy. They didn't damage it. All of those things that she said. And so I said, we're on to something. The fact that I could get off a plane, need to get a blowout and look good for some particular event, I got it from my friend. I trusted her and it worked. So we hope that that gets replicated across the country. And one of the things that we built into Primpii is not only just to be a discovery tool for folks looking for services, we wanted to give something back to that beauty community that are usually small businesses. Having been a small business, I get that, and I want to be able to support them. So there's a back-end portion of it that once someone recommends you on the app, we send you a code as a beauty pro, and you can go into a secure page. You can put in your information, updates, like maybe if you moved salons, you can change it real time in there. You can put a little bit about what your specialties are. You can also put in a lookbook so people can see some of the work that you've done. And you can also do things like, which is really important, you can send out specials to app users. What better, I guess, fertile ground for customers, people who have a beauty app on their phone. They're clearly looking for those types of things. So why not capitalize on that? So you can, if you move to a new location, you can say, hey, try our new location and we'll give you 20% off your first service. So you can send that real time through the app. And you can also send out open seat notifications to app users. So if you've got cancellations tomorrow and you don't have time to call 50 people to see if they can fill it, you can just push a notification out to app users. Again, these are people who are actively seeking those types of services. So all likelihood, they may take it. And then, because if you don't fill that seat, you're not working, you're not making money. So we try to make a really, a win-win for the beauty pros that are on there. The recommendations are all about positivity. This is not a review site. This is not for you to go and trash somebody. This is for friends across the country to put in all the people that they love to use, and they would recommend someone to go to. So we're growing that in city by city by city, one entry by entry by entry. So we're really excited to see how it's continuing to grow and very excited about it.
Tausha, do you want the first conversation? Someone has, I think, Tausha, that may be you. Do you have, I heard echoing. Okay, it's gone now. Tausha, you want the first question?
Sure. So interesting, very interesting application. I love the idea. I have a question about the stylists that are using the app. So let me just talk about our community in terms of the Black community. We've been really slow to embrace technology when it comes to the beauty industry, particularly the hair industry. There are a lot of people that still like to do things the old school way, which can be great. But when it comes to embracing technology, it can be fast. It can be faster if we did so.
Right.
So how are you finding it in terms of stylists using it? So it's friends referral, but stylists can also, as you said, talk about the open seats that they have or say that there are open seats, and also offer specials, right? So how many stylists have you found that are taking advantage of that technology?
I think
what has been the response?
That's a great question. And we obviously watch our users and what they do very closely. Interestingly, the stylists who send out specials or open seat notifications are, generally speaking, stylists who are already using online booking tools. So there's a very strong correlation because we interface with those. So we can see these are the folks who've embraced it and are managing their business well, and never fails. Every single time they post something, they always send me a text or email. They're like, I got a new customer. So there's definitely value to it. I think we would love to see more traction, particularly, and so the app extends across any culture or background. It's for anybody. It is about friends sharing their recommendations. So the person who, in my world, who is like the brow commando, happens to be a Latina woman, and I know wherever she goes, it's good. It's clean, she's inspected it, and they are talented, and I already know that it's good. So I think the point being, it's about all, anybody across the board. But I do see that stylists or beauty pros who have not embraced online booking don't tend to do as well with utilizing the tools within the app. And listen, we'd love to hear from them if we can make it easier. If there's something we can do so that they can utilize it a little bit more effectively, we'd love to do that.
I want to chime in here. I've got a number of conversation pieces. So there's a number, okay, I'll go back to the days of when this was thought about. From the time that this became an idea to actually launching, what period of time was there?
2 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So anywhere from a year, 9 months to 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And because I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go, because it's your show. I'm just steering the ship. You guys are driving. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Because I didn't, when I initially thought of it as an idea, I really didn't have I don't know if it was the courage or the real fire to say I could make this happen. It was just the sketchpad thing. So I spent a lot of time in the sketchpad and reading and doing research and downloading apps and going, well, maybe I don't really see anything. Well, I don't know, to finally what helped me most was to start to talk about it and my idea to people. And they're like, yeah, do it. Why not? And interestingly, here in Austin, that's definitely the spirit. It's like, why not? So I remember going to some meetups with people who are, really seasoned techies. And I forced myself to stand up and talk about my idea and my app. And they're like, I think it's awesome. Do it. You should do it. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, you should do it. And that's where I really started to, okay, let me see, how do I find somebody to help build this for me? And that's where from that time to being to launch was probably more like 9 months.
Tashi?
Wow. So what was the initial thought process? Everybody thinks to themselves, like you said, what helped was talking about it to people, but was there ever any doubt that this is something that could come to fruition, especially with you not being, I mean, you are in one end in technology. The health sciences is a type of technology, definitely. But that's not, I mean, you're not a coder.
No.
So was there, yeah. So what was the initial thought process in terms of, can I do this? What was that like?
Well, and I think the game changer for me was having a friend who was like way up there in terms of his knowledge about how to develop things. And the point was, he wasn't an iOS app developer either. So it was a fun project for him, but he understood all the steps that needed to happen. And I asked everybody who would sit down and talk to me, like I had a notepad and I was like, well, listen, here's what I've done so far. How can I get from here to here? And the year before we launched, we actually went to South by and we divided and conquered, and we went to a bunch of sessions and we were like, okay, they said that we should do this. We should, make sure we incorporate this. And he went to more of the technical pieces because that was speaking a foreign language to me, but it worked together. So I think the way that I was able to make this happen is having a partner in this endeavor that is a talented, tech person. I think it's really hard. And the problem for folks who are non-tech folks who try to get these made, you don't know what you don't know. And if you go hire a company to build an app, they can have really bad code. They can make it glitchy. They cannot, have a really great user interface. I was really, really blessed to work with someone who was excited because he said, I know how to, he's like, this is just code. I can code anything. He's like, what I don't have is ideas. And this is idea, and you've thought it through from beginning to end. I can code everything in between. So.
Wow.
It always leads me to a very important point about the importance of relationships and collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So, and certainly highlighted on that, but would you do a little bit more and share a little bit more about not only from your own experience, but just to people out there generally who want to get into the entrepreneurial world, the importance of relationships and collaboration?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is making sure that you do your homework. So by the time I went to him, or by the time I went to any, meetup group or what have you, I came with questions. I read enough to be dangerous. And people appreciate it. They're like, well, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, but that's not how that works. But it works this way. And I think you'll find that most people are pretty generous with people, like to feel like they know something and they're helping you. And so give them that opportunity to help you. Don't be a know-it-all and, be too proud to ask for help. I ask for lots of help. And one of the things in my work in healthcare and as a consultant, I work with all these private equity firms. I was not afraid to reach out to a really cool tech company that I knew before, and the person has moved on to do something else. I went right back to my LinkedIn and said, hey, where would you go to look for this type of stuff? And if I need help with this, or like, oh, I'll just text you this, call this person. So it's really important to, number one, not just utilize your resources in terms of connections and networking, but your first thing for anybody in my world, I believe, always be willing to give them something. And it's not because it's a quid pro quo. It is what you sow out there in the world comes back to you. And so if somebody calls me and say, hey, Tausha, do you know XYZ? And if, you know, if it's something within my reach or realm that I can do for them, absolutely, no problem. You know, so you have to sow that, I think.
I'm just going to interrupt here on the Dr. Vibe show. You just dropped the knowledge bomb, and Tachi just put it up on the text chat on the side. Read enough to be dangerous. I love that.
I love that.
I just sent that out via my Twitter feed. That is a knowledge bomb.
Absolutely. I'm about to tweet that out too. And dash
so
Dr.
talented.
Tausha Robertson.
You guys are talented to be multitasking with this. I'm focused right now.
You need to be focused. Let me ask, what was, when you were in the stages of making this into fruition, was it your purpose for it to be a wide market? Because Ahmed Hazel asked, what's your target market? And you, without answering the question, just flowing, said, this is for all markets. Was that your intention, or was it to focus on the African-American women market?
No, it was actually to focus on women who are great customers. And that means women with disposable income. And so that would probably be anywhere in the 35 to 45 age range, not exclusively, but your bell curve, that's probably where they're going to fall. Professional, travel, move for work, people who were me and the pain points that I have experienced. So not only, you know, helping them from a discovery tool perspective because of those pain points, but if I'm a beauty pro, I want the woman who is established, who wants great service, and they don't care about paying for it. That's what they want. And they want consistency, and they want, you know, quality, and they'll pay for it. So those are the folks that I wanted our beauty pros to be able to go after on the app. And we spent a lot of time trying to understand how to communicate, which is why we used a Facebook login versus an Instagram or a Twitter. Facebook skews older. And we also chose iOS to start because Apple users spend more money. They do. And so we were really clear about that audience. So I should not have said it's just everybody, but from a ethnic perspective, that didn't matter to me. That mattered less, because my friends who are, you know, Asian or Anglo or any of those things, we complain about the same things. That when we move to a new city or we get off the plane and somebody says, oh yeah, can you go to this charity function tonight? And oh yeah, the press might want to interview after that. You're like, yeah, so I got to try to pull this together.
Wow.
You know, it's interesting, and I'll let Tachi back in for a moment. I can so much relate, because during the journey of my online conversations, especially with men of different backgrounds, when you peel away a lot of stuff from many men, they all have a lot of the same challenges.
Right.
I really appreciate, and you emphasize the research that you have done, and it seems that you continue to do, to really fine tune your service to your customers who want to spend money. I love that statement. I just sent that out as a tweet also, that your target market is women who want to spend money. I think that's great.
Well, if you think about it, the beauty services industry is a $21 billion a year industry with a B. So it is ripe for disruption. You know, Melody McCloskey from Style Seat was dead on when she started, and she believed in her project, and she worked really hard to make it come to fruition. And, you know, quite frankly, watching her success was also an inspiration, too.
Wow, fantastic.
Ashi, go ahead.
And you know, the funny thing is that's that Black academic in you, okay?
It is.
The fact that you did that research, because I remember there is some research out there that shows that malls that have an Apple store and a Tesla dealership make $935 per square foot compared to the 800 that's malls without them. So there is that you're right on the money without saying, yeah, that's that research, that's that Black academic in you.
That's right. That's right.
So I have two questions, and I'll start with this one. I want to go back. Where did you attend school?
So I did my bachelor's and my master's at University of Arizona in Tucson, and then I did my doctoral work at UNC Chapel Hill.
Oh, fantastic. All wonderful schools. So my first question is, what role did that have in terms of what you felt you were able to do?
Well, so my academic preparation, I think, number one, taught me to think through a problem. Like, I laid the app out because I was able to think about it in multiple dimensions and then be able to tell the story to the programmer. So that was a big deal, being able to communicate to him what I wanted to do, what I wanted to look and feel, what I want the actions to be. So being able to be a systematic thinker about all the components and the pieces, and three-dimensional. I think that was super helpful, and not being overwhelmed by the reams of paper that I went through and designing that and the process to do that. I think that, you know, folks that have not been through that hazing process of dissertation, it can, you know, overwhelming from doing your high-level research and narrowing and getting to where you eventually want to be. So I think that, you know, my training as an academic most certainly played a role in me being able to think through this. And number one, feeling like I could do it, you know?
Fantastic. And so then my second question is going back to South by Southwest, which I absolutely love. So you went as an attendee, but if I'm not mistaken, you also were on a panel at one point, or?
Right. So the first year before we launched the app, we just went. We had backpacks on, just pounding the pavement and going to every session we can and talking to every person we were. And I was so welcomed by people as a new techie, which I thought was hugely important. And in fact, some of the folks that I met through South by ended up doing speaking at one of their meetups here locally about why not you, and what I learned in my experience and stuff with them, and have stayed very close to the organization and been part of, you know, some of their other development activities in the community, because they really do want more diversity and people feeling like this is accessible to them.
Well, that's exactly what I was aiming for. Whenever you go to a lot of these tech conferences or these media conferences, there tends to be a lot of the same and not a lot of diversity. Now, I'm not sure about, you know, South by Southwest is so big because they have the interactive, they have the music, and they have the film. Right. But I'm guessing that amongst all three parts of it, that there's not a whole lot of diversity.
Agreed.
So
it's not for a lack of effort. There's a group called Movement 50 that does a lot of activity and making sure that you know about all the things that are going on that may be directly related to you as a person of color, and make sure there are opportunities for us to get together. And in fact, they did the award ceremony and the panel discussion that I participated in this year, in 2016 at South by. So they really make a big effort to try to highlight all the folks that are there. Like, we would have never known that each other were, you know, in that gigantic conference area, but they brought us all together, and it was fantastic. The lineup of people that I got to meet, it was just amazing.
But so if it's not for lack of effort, I'm sorry, Dr. Vibe, you know how so this is a follow-up question. If it's not for lack of effort, then what is it? Why are we not at these things? Why are we not at the table? It's
intimidating. I mean, if you are a person that just won't take the initiative to just walk up to someone and be like, hey, my name's Tausha, and I just started a mobile app, and why are you here? You know, it does require a lot of just that personal gumption to say, I am here and I'm going to get my money's worth while I'm here. So I'm going to talk to everybody, because the thing about South by, you have no idea who you're talking to in that t-shirt and sneakers, because it could be the next, Facebook person or whatever, developer there. And what I did find, seriously, no one snickered when I didn't know the right word for something. They were like, no, it's called this. And, if you're thinking about this type of interface, you want to be careful about X, Y, or Z. And I said, hold on, I'm writing this down. And people were really open. I think that South by was a huge burst of creative energy, because if nothing else you feel there is just this burst of creativity. And I think for us to participate, I've had an experience growing up in Mississippi, and it is a very high concentration of Black folks there. So then I moved to Arizona. And so I had to readjust. Clearly I found my tribe, but I also expanded my tribe and got outside of my comfort zone and met people and did things and went places that I would have never gone if I only was insular in my thinking. And I'm glad my parents pushed me to do that. So I think I have an easier time just because it's not foreign to me, but I absolutely can see where it could be intimidating. In fact, there was a group that brought students from HBCUs last year. I think they brought like 50 students. They were at one of the events that I was, and they were like, get here, get your hands in here and mingle, because people are welcoming. I cannot say that anybody or any event that I went to that people didn't talk to me, that they didn't engage me, and that they weren't interested. So part of it, I think too, is it's expensive. It's very expensive. That may be a bigger barrier to folks, coming, because it's expensive. The travel and the badges are very expensive. So I think it's on a couple of different fronts why it's happening.
I just want to jump in there in regards to, and every time you're sharing, it leads me to more conversation pieces. What about those who can't afford, who want to get to where you are at?
Wow. It's so funny that you say that, because I was talking to a young woman I've mentored all these years. She's pretty much my kid at this point. I said, he can't get rid of me. So, and she's a recent college grad and going through that process of, trying to define herself in a workplace and chart her own path. And I have to remind her all-time jobs. She's not seeing when I had to get out of class and then go to a job and work after that and then come home and study. So I think what some people, and young people in particular, they see what's bright and shiny on TV. They don't recognize the journey to get there. And as I tell her and I tell other young folks, you've got to be willing to do the work. And I believe in that. You have to do your homework. You have to be willing to do the work. Expense, working in private equity, I have a great appreciation about how money works. And one of the things as a community that we need to become more diligent about is being financially savvy and understanding that, because and don't say it's because I don't have any money. I get that, but it's what you do with the money that you do have. I had a grandmother who was a sharecropper and grew up as a sharecropper, who worked as a pastry chef. And my mom and all her 6 siblings were never hungry, and they always had clothes and lights were on and all those things. So I can't buy into, you can't do it. I just don't buy into that. Coming from humble beginnings, my parents are solidly middle class and have worked very hard to make sure I have these opportunities. But I am one generation away from someone who, worked in the fields and was a sharecropper. So I think we have to focus on, if this is your goal, if this is important to you and you want to get to the next level, then you have to be willing to make some sacrifices. Clearly, you have to have food, water, shelter. But do you have to have the next pair of Jordans? Do you have to have the latest Michael Kors, whatever? Do you have to have but yeah, I have friends that laugh at me all the time because I'm like, there are things that I'm gonna spend money on. There are certain beauty services, but I'm not a nail person. I'm just not. I go in as long as they clean them up. I don't need polish. I don't need gels. I don't need all that. I just need them to be neat and presentable. That's it. Not something I'm gonna spend money on, but it's a choice. So I think we have to become much more savvy about how we spend our money, because it's accessible if you save and you decide that you want to do this. It's got to be important to you.
On the journey on making this a reality, would you be comfortable sharing one or two of the biggest challenges you had to overcome?
Yeah, the biggest challenges that I've had to overcome, well, one of the biggest challenges is accepting that I walked into an arena where I don't know a lot. And that was hard, being someone, I'm very proficient in my other world. I would be considered an expert in that too. People crave me for what I have to say about it, but to go and start at ground zero and be completely vulnerable and know that I might do some things wrong, and be willing to not, be willing to be vulnerable and to say, ask for help. And I still have a lot to learn. Like, there's a few people I have on my stalker list that I want to ask them about user acquisition strategies. So yes, I'm still learning. So that was hard. And I think too, the one thing that helped me being an entrepreneur before is understand the peaks and the valleys. There are going to be times where you're not getting any traction. There are going to be times when it feels like this idea is dying and why don't I just give up? But then there are also going to be times when 3 people call you for an interview. So you have to be willing to ride the waves. And that's hard sometimes, especially when you're at the bottom of that wave, to stay focused and stay the course. And there are some times in life where you have to make a fork in the road choice that maybe it's not going to work, but take all of that experience and use it for the next thing. Like, for me, failure is just an opportunity to learn. I don't look at failure as the end of my world or anything. I just think, okay, let me pick myself up, dust myself off, and what did I learn from this, and how can I apply it to something else?
Tachi.
So I'm wondering what your plans for Primpii are from this point. So, obviously it's still growing. It's still a new app, but what direction are you going in, and how are you going to get there?
Well, so one of the things that we've been doing is having some conversations with some different, we'll call them, I guess, other beauty services stakeholders, and trying to understand how we may partner better. I think we definitely need to do a better job of trying to really understand how to get the beauty pros to engage on this, because it could be such a powerful tool for them. So that may require that we do some focus group work with them to see if it's something they really want to do, or if it's something, a functionality that we really don't necessarily need in the app. I know all of us who have apps, that you get multiple updates because it's an iterative process. You continue to learn from your users. So I think that's kind of where we are. I think we'd love to get some investment in the near future, because some of these things that need to happen to take it next level will require that investment. And we have to be ready for that. And I think, I have a lot more homework to do in terms of building the business model and being able to pitch that to investors and understanding what that means, because they want to give you something, but they sure want something in exchange. So you have to be clear about that and what you have valued your company at, and how much are you willing to give away. And
absolutely. Can I know, I'm sorry, you go ahead, Dr. Vibe. I just had a follow-up to that.
No, go ahead. Follow up and follow through. Go ahead.
Okay, don't lose it, Dr. Vibe.
Some people say I've never had it, but that's another stage, another question.
So we all know that generally at the beginning, when there's a new app out, that's when the majority of the downloads happen. And then it kind of reaches a peak or a saturation point, unless there's something new that happens. So what is new about Primpii that will entice people to continue downloading?
Right. So what happens, the way we thought through that, and you're absolutely right. This is something we are continually thinking about, because we don't want to just keep throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. We're trying to be very thoughtful about the updates we make. And quite frankly, from a business perspective, development costs money. So you need to be clear about what that plan is and what you hope to accomplish as you continue to develop. What we hope is, once we can get the beauty pros to kind of engage on a different level, that if they're sending out specials and open seats, how fast do you pick up that phone when you see a push notification? Because you tell who gets me all the time? The flash sales, like one of the apps, One King's Lane. I like House Up. Okay. It's my thing.
Yeah.
And so they'll send me this thing. Hey, new pillows for, these designer pillows on sale for 90% off. I click that thing so fast. Not to suggest that I always buy it, but they find a way to get me to look. And so if we can do a great job of getting our beauty pros to be able to use this app in a way to attract new folks, because maybe there's something I've never, like, if you're a person, you've never had your brows threaded. What if somebody posted a really interesting special and you get to see the pictures, and then you can also see within your network some other folks know her? How likely would you be to go, let me go give it a try? She made a good special, and 2 or 3 people I know her and they like her, so I'll try it. So yes, so you're right. It is something that we have to continue to focus on and develop over time. It is a slow burn, because this concept of these apps that skyrocket, those are unicorns. That's not how real apps happen. I mean, think about Twitter launched at South by Southwest. That was a slow burn. And then it took off. Before they got to South by, they were nowhere near what they became. So you have to be comfortable in the growth and understanding that may take some time, and we may pivot on some things, but that's just what we're working through.
When you developed this vision, was an app part of the original concept, or did that come along the way? And
it was always an app.
Okay. For entrepreneurs out there, and you're in the heat of the battle right now. For the entrepreneurs out there, when do you feel they should have an app? When is an app necessary for an entrepreneur, in your opinion?
Wow, that's really depends on the business. So this one was really, we went mobile because that's where most people get their information from. Beauty, when they're looking for something like that, they're using their phone. So that's why the app was that. So if I have a retail, storefront, or something like that, I'm not sure. It depends. If you want to get into e-commerce, that's another animal. I think it's there are a lot of different ways. And there's actually African-American guy here in Austin who has a phenomenal company that does just that. It's called Sandbox Apps, and they can build an app for any business. And they've made it easy so that you could go on there and build your own app. You can put in, basic things, but you can also put in an interface to your storefront and all those kind of things. So they're rocking and rolling. I think they just got into another accelerator. But I'm proud of them to see the work that they're doing. But so an app doesn't fit for everybody. It's not the right mode for everybody. But if you do, there are a number of ways to do it now that you don't have to develop from ground up, especially if you're using it as a conjunction to your business, not developing the app as a business. You don't need to spend that much on development costs. There's stuff you can customize off the shelf for that.
I know you're a research hound, so are you able to share with us what the demographic of the downloaders are so far?
Mm-hmm. So our average age is 37. And that's a function of the app started from my social map. So I'm on the other side of 40. So it's gonna skew a little older because it's friend to friend to friend to friend to friend. And then those friends to friends to friends to friends. So it's skewing definitely towards the upper 30s into the 40s. Predominantly more African American right now, but again, it grew out of my social map. And as I start to look at different cities, depends on who was the nucleus person there, and it grows out of their social map. So what my app looks like in Seattle is very different than what it looks like in say South, well, that's not even true in South Florida. It's kind of a good mix there. But Atlanta is a different mix. So it's different by city. So if you're out there and you don't see it in your city, you got to start it. Be the nucleus. Be the person that starts it. Put in the first recommendation. Put all your pros in. Get your friends too. Because we do some fun contests sometimes with our users to try to introduce them to new pros and also to try to encourage that conversation with them.
Tachi?
This is sort of a techie question. Because of the popularity, well, and now kind of waning popularity of Pokemon Go, the whole concept of augmented reality applications have come up.
Yes.
Do you see yourself adding new applications like AR or VR to Primpii?
That is funny because when we had to write the patent application, you have to think big, like anything that you think that you might want to put in there. And yeah, AR is definitely something we'd love to see in the future, because what if, and I don't know that this will happen, but just humor me here. What if you could, put your phone up to a product in the store and then you could see all the reviews from people that said, hey, that's some good conditioner. All right, get on that lotion right there. It's the truth, So I don't know how all that works, but in the future. But yeah, when we thought big and we were saying all the things it could be, because you want to encompass that in your intellectual property, like what it could be. Yes, we thought about that for sure.
Fantastic.
Do you have competitors?
You always want to be fearful of anybody that says that they don't have competitors, because they do. In business, you do. You absolutely do. The competitors would be more of the scheduling apps, because they have the greatest penetration in terms of the beauty services space, and they do somewhat of the marketing component. They send you little, hey, try this new stylist that's in your neighborhood. But the thing that they lack is the relevance, because Google, Yelp, those things do not help me in this area, because if you are someone I don't know, there is no way on earth I am just going to take your word for somebody who is going to cut my hair or who's going to mess with my skin or mess with my brows. It's just too risky. So I think, we welcome the opportunity, and quite frankly, there's a huge synergy with us in the scheduling apps if they can start to integrate with the relevance from the social map. And hopefully at some point, maybe we'll be able to do that. But I think that's what makes the most sense.
Well, Leon Henry has a question. Leon, if you want to come in, I'd love you to come in, but he has a question. What are your Q4 and 2017 Q1 projections for the app?
Wow, you're ahead of me. So for Q4, I would like to say that I'm super numbers oriented and driving towards something every month on the app, but I'm still learning. I wish I was that far along that we could break out some charts and project what we want to do. We're just not there yet. We are still learning and tweaking, and every user to me I'm pleased as punch. So I think until we really get some serious investment and really start to put in some additional analytics, some additional customer feedback loops, and build in some more communication platforms with our customer base, I think it's going to be really hard for us to do that. I would love to get to that point, but that's just not where we are.
Okay. More than fair. More than fair. With how do you plan to get the uneducated educated?
Wow. Yet another great question. So one of the things that's been really helpful is the ambassadors that I have around the country who are my friends. I have been just overwhelmed with the passion that, you know, some of my friends have embraced this and evangelized it to their community. I think that we definitely need to figure out efficient, cost-effective ways to communicate with our audience, and giving them a different value proposition, stuff that's in the works. So yeah, what I would say to someone is the folks that, you know, big firms that crank out apps like crazy, they've been doing this for 10, 15 years. So they know their secret sauce to make a good game. They do. But this is kind of new territory. And so we've got a long way to go to learn that. And quite frankly, a lot of it's going to take a lot of more capital than I have right now to do that.
Okay. Durham Skyride has an interesting comment saying maybe you can fold a scheduling component into your app and eliminate the competition.
You know what? That's ambitious and that's great. And that's a question that we had to ask ourselves. What are we? We are discovery and using the social map. We integrate with StyleSeat and Schedulicity. So if you log into the app and you scroll through the beauty pros that are in there, if they've gone in and updated their page, you'll either say, call me to book or click here to book. Click here to book means that they've updated and put in their Schedulicity or the StyleSeat link. Those guys have a lot of money and I respect the work that they do. So you have to, you know, be true to what it is that I started this for, which was how do I get relevant referrals from my friends and social networks and trying to just stay true to that mission.
Tausha.
What other social platforms are you using that work in tandem with this? So do you have, for example, Dr. Vibe knows I'm huge, and he is too. We really believe in the power of live streaming and the power of leveraging that. Are there other apps that you're using or other social platforms you're using that work in tandem with this or that you've been using in tandem with Primpii?
You're right. We'd love to do that. And I'm not there yet. I have to spend more time on that and figure out how to capture that because I've been learning the business of the app. And I can't say that I've been as astute with all the different platforms that I can use. And remember, I have a day job. So this is a side hustle. And until we can kind of get that funding to really spend more of my day on it, it's tough. I'm learning day by day. And so I pick up one piece of thing at a time that I can utilize. So this is my first experience using this app. And I think that it gives a really awesome opportunity for me to, now that I've tried it, to say.
Is Tausha frozen?
Yeah, she's
hey, wow.
What is up?
Oh, she's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leon from over the water in England. How you do?
A very good evening. It's morning here, and I thought you can see I'm off asleep. Don't worry. Wonderful conversation, Alicia. Congratulations on your app, by the way. And I've come into this conversation a bit late, so bear with me. Yes. You mentioned you're not there yet. You know, as we know, we're never going to be there yet. But again, yes, getting as much as information as you can. My background, I programming. I don't know how many languages, but iOS or Android. to think of your target market and just really serve the customer as quick as possible. Just let the consumers do the work for you. They dictate what goes on, and you should be able to serve them with much information. I will say, if you're a database person, just let the database crunch as much as possible numbers and spit out the right information for you. You'd be surprised, what you go for just for 24 hours, and they'll give you the right things that you really want. So I think you're there. You launched. That's the most important thing. All right. So many people wrote apps and are thinking, wow, and it's been 2-3 years and things have changed. So you're in the marketplace at the moment. I think keep on doing what you're good at doing and getting the information and just get it out there. I said, well, you could go worldwide if you want to, because you're solving the problem.
Worldwide. So if you're somewhere else in the world, download it and get it started somewhere else, because I travel all the time. So I need it somewhere when I'm in England. I need somewhere when I'm in Africa. So
well, this is it. You're solving a problem. And I think, you build that database and you show them the great need on what it is. And, we've looked at many scheduling apps ourselves, and it's a huge problem within the community, because unfortunately some of us don't know time. And we arrive at places and we want to speed up the schedules. And if we can educate more people, say, okay, look, if we can get these people in the door quick enough, you'll get the turnover and get the revenue, but you get the business. You solve the problem. So, as I said, if you could combine with the scheduling apps, that'd be better still. So,
listen, I'm not done holding out hope that I've been in conversations to say, hey, we probably need to partner up on some of these things, because the intellectual property that we have around using the social map could be very valuable to them. So I don't give up on that. I work in private equity. I believe in the acquisition.
Yes. Well, this is it. You're doing the right thing. Just build the data, because again, this is what we want. And I mean, if we can look at the data and say, okay, look, and put a dollar amount on top of it, it will work. So most people don't do that because they think, okay, solve the problems about it, but it's the data that drives this, drives the application. So, I think it's good. I would love to see the apps at the end of the day. I'm behind about 10 computers here, so I'm trying to work as quick as possible to get an event sorted out at the moment. But yes, Doctor, can you post your link of the app, so we can all see?
I will put the link right in the comments section right now.
Thank you.
That's the website address.
Excellent.
That should have been the first thing we did.
Well, you see, I wasn't here. I would have warned you. I was you guys. Listen, this is a production.
Of course.
You would have got
Leon is here now. So.
You would have had that up on the screen, and you would demonstrate live everything so we can see.
That's true, and we can always do that sometime.
So we can see.
Absolutely.
Talk to. We'll have you back on the show. We have, a mobile version demonstrating these crazy people do it in real time and show people what it's all about. Yeah. Excellent. I'm going to jump out of the seat. Guys, you have a wonderful evening. I'm going to be here in the background. I'm trying to do something for Dr. Vibe, see? So that's the problem. That's why I'm on there. Wonderful show. Excellent. Take care now.
Well, and keep the faith.
Tausha, I have a suggestion for you in terms of getting a little more social. I don't know if you use Periscope at all, but okay, you have. So do you know about the group called Black BizScope?
You know what? I think someone told me about that. No, I have not participated in that, but that makes good sense. I will look it up. Thank you. I see. Ask the question and somebody has an answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it would work well for you because they tend not to always have tech people. There's a lot of beauty and there's a lot of other things, but nobody has an app. And I think, you could get anywhere between 50 and 200 people that are watching at any one time that will then recommend. Yeah, it's serious business. So you could go to blackbizscope.com and look up all the information. And tomorrow is actually Black BizScope Friday. So between 10 and 11 in the morning, and then in the evening from 6 to 8, Black businesses will get on, and you get 15 minutes to talk about your product or service in front of this audience. So it may be something that works well for you. I've done it like a couple of times. So
thank you. That's quite, wow. That's fantastic. Thank you.
absolutely.
And Durham Skywriter puts in, saw the publications listed on your website, but I can't believe there's a magazine for eyelashes.
That's right. It's a $21 billion business.
Wow. So hold on.
Wow.
So the great media coverage that you have received, how did you get it?
Because it resonated with people. It was really crazy. So I have another good friend who has more time and has a media background. So she was able to send out some press releases. I have a friend who's a writer who wrote my press releases for me because they really believed in this. And they, you know, and on the other end, like I said, there's nothing in my world that I wouldn't do for them. So when it came to, hey, how do I do this? They were much, you know, more than happy to help. And one has a business, and we were able to, you know, purchase some of her time and her expertise. Clearly, you know, I didn't get her fancy version of it, but she was able to kind of help me get a few things out there. And the fact that, you know, it resonates, and we've been just bowled over by the response to it, and just want to continue to grow the brand as much as we can, and continue to grow the functionality and the user base. You know, I feel like every day we get a new user, and that's progress, and we just need to keep on that track.
Interesting enough, Durham Skywriter says your logo uses a heart in the most creative way possible. How did you come up with the logo?
So the logo, yeah, it was really about, I wanted this app to be about positivity in the space, because there can be a lot of ugliness and nastiness in the beauty services industry, and particularly in the review kind of section on anything. It can be really negative. So we built this app with, you know, helping people find what they need, and then helping these pros grow their business. So it was about love, sharing the love.
She's frozen on us again. No problem.
She'll come back.
Yeah.
And
We hope she comes back. There she
Yeah, she's back. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So I was saying that the heart was really indicative of our desire to make it a positive space for users and for the beauty pros that are on there. They don't have to worry about being bashed or their craft being, you know, talked poorly about. It's all about sharing people that you use and that you like.
Right. Thanks. For Primpii, or Primpii to be a success, what would that look like to you for it to be a success? What does that look like?
Well, I'm going to be quite frankly, as a first-time app developer, A, to get one in the Apple Store, because that's not easy. B, to have people resonate with it. I think we have made some, you know, we have had some success. I would like to continue to grow and really turn it into a business, because one of the best advice I got from some really powerful tech guys here, had the open session, Ask Me Anything. He said, go get some users and come back and see me.
Wow.
So we are in the go get some users and come back and see me phase. And that he's right, because if you can get that right, you can figure out how to monetize it.
Enough said there. Tachi?
Absolutely. Oh, wow. No, I'm sorry. I was still so enamored by that. You keep dropping bombs, and I'm just like, oh, yes, I'm supposed to be asking you questions. So even though Primpii is still relatively new, I know that you probably have your sights set on what's next. Mm-hmm. So what's next, either with this app or for future apps?
Oh, wow. I have a whole sketch pad of future apps. I teased my CTO and business partner. I was like, hey, we should talk about these other things. He's like, can we finish one thing before we do? Like, okay, yeah, but listen, I was thinking. So this tech space has really kind of highlighted the creative part of my mind, because it makes things a lot more accessible than building a brick and mortar. Not saying it's easy to monetize something in tech space, but what we're learning from Primpii, I think, can be applied from a whole lot of things. And I think that in my background in healthcare, I have a laundry list of things that we could do. And so I think this will be the first of many.
Let me ask, Cindy, from your background, how did that help you in launching of this app? What sort of lessons, what sort of battles did you overcome in your previous career that have helped you be successful with this?
Well, I mean, the fact that I left a very lucrative and very prominent job working for Carl Icahn for my old boss and I to set up with 2 laptops in our own houses and start a business working with other private equity firms. It was a tremendous risk on both of our part, but we fundamentally believed that what we had to offer and our intellectual property was valuable, and turns out it was. And we were able to take on a couple of more partners and grow that business, and to a point where a very large company wanted to purchase it. And we were like, well, all right, sure. So if the price is right, sure. Which has, given me the springboard and the runway to focus a little bit of my energy on Primpii and hope to do more of that in the future.
Fantastic. We can't hear you, Dr. Vibe.
I love celebrating success. There's something to be said when you're able to sell something and make a profit and say, oh, that feels good.
Yeah, it feels real good.
That's fantastic. Question here. Curtis Brooks asks, perhaps a grassroots effort in having individuals visit shop owners.
Absolutely. And we do a tour. And so we focused initially in the Atlanta area. We did some, and I actually did an event in South Florida. So you're absolutely right, and have done one here in Austin as well. Just trying to get out and, spread the word as much as possible. You're dead on. It's absolutely right.
Based on what you just said with cities wise, what would be some of the cities in the United States you'd like your app to really take off in?
Oh, I would love some penetration on the East Coast and in California. And I think, honestly, I'm from the Southeast, and smaller towns. This could be super helpful for those beauty pros. So it doesn't have to be just big cities. This can be an app for, Dothan, Alabama. This could be an app that could be useful anywhere, especially in those cities where, you may have to go a couple towns over to find somebody really good. This is a way to capture an audience in a much wider, kind of circumference than you might be able to reach with just some of your local media. What if it's one town over? If your friends live over there, you can kind of spread. Every time you get another user, you get their social map, and then their social map, and then their social map. So I think it's a tremendous tool for folks who are great at their craft, who are in small areas. You can reach a lot of people.
Excellent. Fantastic. Tausha, anything you wanting to add as we start probably winding it down, as we wind it down?
Just really quickly, what are, the saying, to whom much is given, much is required. What is it that you're doing now to pass on this knowledge and these experiences to young people? I already probably know that because of the organization we're in, that you are pulling that in some way, but what are some ways that you're doing this?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier, Samari, who's probably going to kill me for mentioning her on here. She and I were paired together in a program called Inspire Within. It was for kids who were aging out of foster care, and they really needed to be paired with adults to help them navigate this thing called life once you get out there in this big world. And if you look at the statistics around kids aging out of foster care, it is dismal, because they don't have a support system and they don't have the life skills to make this thing go. And so she and I have been together 10 years, and I told her she better take care of me when I'm old. She said she's gonna throw me home. But so she has really, done a great job of going to school, graduating with honors. She's now here. She was in Florida. She's now here in Austin working for a great company. Love watching to see her thrive. And I think, you know, if I can change one person's life, I did something here. No matter what else that I do from a professional level, I've done something. And she's done something big to overcome tremendous adversity, to be an amazing, bright, and wonderful human being. And on top of that, I also am a board member for a charity called, not charity, it's an organization called St. Louis House. And what we do is provide supportive housing for women, homeless women and their children. And we take the folks that don't necessarily qualify for the programs that are out there that, you know, are, you know, largely funded, because you're not counted as homeless if you split your kids up at night and let them sleep at different relatives' homes, and you couch surf and you do those things. You don't meet the criteria by many organizations of being quote unquote homeless. And so our organization, we own a couple of different apartment complexes, and we work with these women to build them up and teach them how to fish. We don't just enable them to continue to be in that cycle of poverty. We spend a lot of time with social workers and support services to help them understand how to be self-sufficient. And that is tremendously rewarding to see a mom who not too long ago was sleeping in the car with her 1-year-old twins, to now having an apartment, to now getting training for a new job, to be able to eventually move out and, you know, stand on her own 2 feet and have the skills and resources to help her be successful. That means a lot to me. You know, so that's just a couple of things that I do. I'm big on that. I think I'm tremendously blessed, and I have to, you know, I've got a huge family too. So all my little cousins, they benefit quite handsomely from my world, but I enjoy being able to do it for them.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Tausha, we're going to let you go, but before we let you go, first, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time out of your very positive, productive schedule to share with us. The mic is always open whenever you want to come on, and we expect you to keep in touch. I am following you on Twitter, so I'm going to keep an eye on you.
Good deal. Good deal.
If people, any final words, and if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Sure. The easiest way is on Twitter. You can just direct message me there. I think my words are, please pursue your passions. And just because they don't become a commercial success, there is value in the process. There's value in creating and bringing something to fruition. And it matters. Putting that out there in the universe that you have started something and you brought it to fruition. Maybe it's just to your local community or to your group of friends. There's value in that, and continuing to do that will flex that muscle, and you create something bigger and bigger and bigger each time. So don't be afraid to try, because surround yourself with people who are always trying. Because if you don't, I just feel like there's a sense of complacency, and you just you become okay with just being okay. You want to be around people who are constantly trying something, even if it seems like a moonshot to you. So what? Just tell them, okay, keep going, try.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for, again, the time. And big thanks also to Tachi for bringing your wonderful presence onto the platform. Tachi, any final words, and how can people connect with you?
Just thank you, Tausha, for being so open and frank and willing to share your experiences with everybody here on this new platform, because this is something that's new for you. You haven't done it before. So this is just the first of many of these types of things that you'll do. And you guys know you can reach me at Tachiada, TACHIADA, on every single platform.
You did it again.
I'm sorry. And Tausha, he always gets on me because I always forget to say this. You can watch me talk all about the best in media tech and pop culture on Wednesdays on Mediascope, 6 p.m. on 6 p.m. on Periscope and Busker. This is Eastern time, 7:30 p.m. on Facebook Live. On Fridays, I also host the social media scene together. I'm a co-host with Alice Fuller, and we talk all about social media. It's where social media, film, television, and entertainment intersect, and that's 12 noon on Facebook Live. Then on Sunday, I am one of 4 co-hosts on the Classic Movie Salon. We select an old film, and we talk it to death with tangents. So that's where you can see me.
Tati, are you coming to South by this year?
I'm trying to come to South by this year. The problem is it's always right before NAB, and I always do NAB every year. So I have to, like, if I'm going to do that, I'm not going to do that. So I may.
All right. Look me up.
All right.
I will.
It is Dr. Vibe here. I'm host, producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. I'm also coach, and I will get that wrong. I'm also president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Communications and Coaching. Excuse me. And remember, I host Epic Conversations, and this is the home of Epic Conversations. If you want to touch base with me, the best way, I'm going to put it right in the side here, is I'm going to put my Twitter handle and my email address for everybody who wants to stay in touch. And I've also put in the comments tonight, if you want to keep up on what Dr. Vibe is doing online, there are links to that. And also, if you have 2 minutes, there's a link also for you to provide commentary on tonight's epic conversation. As always, I like to say you're blessed. And yes, Curtis, yes, I am wearing Tati's t-shirt. Yes, for everybody who's here, let me pull my mic away for a second. I am wearing Tati's t-shirt. Absolutely. I was told by one of my producers I'd always wear like a collar and all this and a nice shirt, but I said, no, tonight Tachi's in the house, so I got to give her much respect in regards to that. Not only, and this is another thing too, supporting each other. I'll be transparent. I won this on one of her shows, but I also bought one. I bought one for myself, and the one that I won, I gave it away.
He did.
So please, let's support each other, because as the adage says, when you work together, you win together.
Yes.
So as always, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. Thanks for stopping by. As always, God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good. Good night, everybody.
Good night.